Good morning, everyone. Today, I would like to give you a gift. And no, it is not another song. But it is still an important gift, and it is the gift of two stories. The first one is this. When I met my new roommates for the first time as a freshman at Yale, I was excited to prove to them that I belonged there. That I was not just a stereotypical minority scholarship student ushered into a prestigious school on the disparaging back of affirmative action. No, I was a Westover girl. I had conquered the vicious, red-backed beast known as the Warrener's Handbook, and I had earned a rare and coveted 94 on my first paper for Bruce Coffin's Dostoevsky class. A paper in which I admit I had used painfully too many transitions, but for which I had thankfully committed the lesser of two evils, since the rest of the class had used none. More importantly, however, I had braved 4 years as Seamus Weber's advisee. Now, for those of you who do not know Seamus, please picture nearly 1,400 days of eerie, toothy smiles, high-pitched, poorly timed cackles, worrisome accounts of coat buttons made with infant navels, and too freely, too oft shared stories of blissful old couples running around naked, coloring each other with magic markers. Thank you, Seamus. I had lived, furthermore, as had all students who took any of Seamus's English classes, through the monthly dread of having him end his all-too-familiar mid-class pacing by standing behind me with his hands resting on the back of my chair, a telltale sign we all knew that one had or would soon get her period. I honestly don't know how he knew this, but he knew. I tell you, I had earned my place at Yale. I could spot the uncommon common error and recite the Canterbury Tales prologue in my sleep. I was brilliant. This brilliance incited me to sit confidently amidst the new faces as my roommates and I gathered in a circle on our common room floor. Despite the initial silence of unfamiliarity, I knew that one of us should soon speak. However, I determined that it would not be I who did. After all, everyone who was anyone knew that the most brilliant of people were those who let others speak first and then simply improved upon whatever they said. I love Plato, one of my roommates finally ventured. Seizing the opportunity and glad, I admit, for the light-hearted commencement, I quickly replied, "Oh yes, and I especially love how you can make it into French fries." I am ashamed to say that it took me a few awkward moments and several bemused stares to realize that my roommate had not been referring, she had been referring to Plato, the esteemed ancient Greek philosopher, and not Play-Doh, the rubbery substance that my 3-year-old cousin liked to eat. I would like to take this moment to apologize to Westover. The second story is this. I grew up in a strict Christian household, where pictures in my children's Bible of Sodom and Gomorrah in brightly painted red and orange flames taught me long before any preacher did that homosexuality was a sin. Yet there I was, 16 years old, and very much in love with a girl. I knew that I could never tell anyone, especially not my mother, that she would try to kill me was the truth and not just a frivolous thing to say. In fact, on the day she walked in, on my girlfriend and me making out in my room. The wail that lunged from her throat pierced me almost as deeply as I knew the knife she had grabbed from the kitchen drawer would. After chasing me around our kitchen island a few times, knife in hand, my mother eventually calmed down. And though she never picked up another weapon against me, we fought incessantly after that. It took her years before she could accept my revelation that I am bisexual. And while she now insists that she accepts me for who I am, I think she's secretly relieved that I married a man. Both stories that I've shared today with you are mine. The first is a memory from my personal experience, a humorous lesson to never take myself too seriously, no matter how brilliant I am. The second is my story too, but not because I lived it. The story is actually about one of my friends from college, and she shared it with me once as we talked about her life. Yet it has become my story, one that has moved me toward my work in diversity and social advocacy, because I have assumed the responsibility that came with hearing it. I too grew up in a strict Christian household, and though I too had been taught from young to view homosexuality as a sin, because I cared about the protagonist, I was able to listen to her story, and her cause became my own. In our culture, when we ask someone, "How are you?" our words are very often no more than a flippant acknowledgement, a trite formality rather than an invitation to hear a story. In fact, if we are honest with ourselves, we're often even slightly annoyed when people respond with anything more than fine. Impatient listeners we have become, content to entertain rumors, stereotypes, and assumptions about others, rather than bear the responsibility of hearing the stories that they themselves have to tell. We have become selfish with our ears, privileged to avoid any story that rubs us the wrong way, that makes us feel guilty, or that stirs up feelings of regret. We deny access to stories with words that make us uncomfortable, like diversity or otherness. Yet, these words are parts of stories, and not just any stories. They are the narratives of the people we pass in these halls each day. They are the words of students who have felt excluded or judged because of how they think, speak, look, or dress, and of those who always seem to smile, but all the while they are hurting inside. They belong to those of us who have been marred by the powerlessness of a hidden identity, and to all of us who have ever been labeled too rich, too poor, too loud, too quiet, too mean, too nice, too dark, too light, too big, too small, too smart, too average, too much of many things really, and far too little of who we actually are. There are many stories here at Westover, but are we listening? It is a mystery to me how anyone can propose to take on the role of human rights activism if she is unwilling to take the time to listen to the stories of the people around her. After all, what is a human rights activist but one who chooses to hear a story and then to act upon what she has heard? What credence, therefore, can we lend to any of our global advocacy claims if we cannot simply greet one another in the hallway and be patient for a response? I would like to take this moment now to say a special thank you to Sofia Sirovaskia. Are you here? I know I messed up your name. Well, Sophia, wherever you are. Hi, Sophia. Thank you. Sophia asks me on a daily basis, "How are you, Crystal?" Then demands that I provide her with more details when I say nothing more than good. It is true, I sometimes conceal the details of a pretty bad day beneath a blanket pleasant reply. And I would venture to say that many of us have at one point or another done the same. We do so often out of fear of inconveniencing others with our stories or taking too much of their time. However, in those moments, I believe we all need someone like Sophia. Someone who will not allow us to bear the agony of our untold story, as Maya Angelou would say. We need someone who is willing to lovingly but bluntly tell us, "Oh please, your smile is fake, even your laugh is fake. Now really, tell me how you are." Thank you, Sophia. Sharing a personal story with someone is a gift, but I have learned that sometimes it is an unwanted one. After all, a personal story told is often a burden transposed, a call for a movement beyond sympathy to response. It is also many times a tremendous act of humility for the storyteller, because in telling someone about yourself, and I mean your entire self, not just your joys and successes or the palatable things you think they might want to hear, but also the difficult things, the uncertainties, the struggles, and the regrets. In telling someone these things, you empower her with your words, and you become vulnerable to whatever she chooses to do with that power. Whether she judges you or affirms you, shuns you or embraces you, condemns you or instructs you, the power is hers. Such power in anyone's hands can be a terrifying thing. But in this courageous entrustment is where true community lies. If we say and embrace that we are a community here at Westover, then let this be our measure. Not that we smile frequently, or that we are most oftentimes good, but rather that each one of us is willing, when confronted with diverse situations, to allow ourselves to become at one point a vulnerable storyteller, and at another, an uncomfortable but ready listener. I believe that an essential building block of a community is the collective assurance that your stories are safe with me and my stories are safe with you. If at any point in your life you find that hearing someone's story feels like too difficult a load to bear, especially when that story provokes you or contradicts what you believe in some way, then I challenge you to remember this. If you truly love people, as I believe that you all do, then you will long for their stories. Because after you no longer have their faces, their stories are what you will have to pass on. Do not just love the stories that make you comfortable or feel good. Do not pretend that a person in her entirety is not there. Do not filter your perceptions of others through Facebook posts, Twitter feeds, and other superficial planes. By design, these can do no more than offer mere glimpses of stories, and they can easily fall short of revealing who we truly are. Rather, talk to one another. Ask questions for yourself. Then, be prepared not just to listen, but also to do something constructive with what you hear. I say to you all today that if you truly desire to know me, then hear my stories. I am in them as you are in yours. And as the Archbishop Desmond Tutu once said, my humanity is tied up with yours. With every day that I spend with you at Westover, I weave you, your humanness, into my narrative loom. So let us learn together from this process, and let us share our tales with others so that they can learn from us too. I believe there's the potential for life transcendent in this place, and we cannot let that die. The easiest way to diminish our power, our collective power as human beings, is to refuse to hear the stories that each one of us has to tell. So from now on, when I pass you in the hallway and I ask you how you are, please know that I am inviting you to share your story, and that I will wait for your response. Please do the same for me. Thank you.